A tissue is a group of cells with a common origin and organized to perform one or more specific functions. The animal body is also made up of different types of cells. In case of animal body, there are around 210 different types of cells. So, animal tissues can be divided into four main types. Number 1, epithelial tissues. Number 2, connective tissues. Number 3, muscle tissues. Number 4, nervous tissues. In this video, we'll be discussing each and every types of tissues. Number 1, epithelial tissues. This is the tissue that lines up the free surfaces, internal and external, of the vertebrate body. There are two types of epithelial tissues, as simple and stratified. Simple composed of single layer of cells. In case of stratified epithelial tissues, they are composed of several layers of cells. When you consider about their special features, they are tightly packed cells. A nerve supply is present within the tissue, but there is no blood supply. The cells are placed on a basement membrane. When you consider about the functions of epithelial tissues, lining up of free surfaces and protection, it is the primary function of the epithelial tissues, which protects the internal organs from pressure, friction, and even microbes. Therefore, they will act as a protective barrier. Perception of stimuli, the epithelium of tongue and nose, etc., detect taste and smell sensors. Filtration, epithelium of Bowman's capsule filters the blood. Secretory function, secretion of mucus by the lining epithelium of the respiratory tract. So when you consider about what are the places that epithelial tissues are found, such as walls of urinary bladder, wall of blood capillaries, skin, lining of nasal cavity. Next tissue, connective tissue. Connective tissue is composed of different types of cells and fibers. These cells and fibers are embedded in a large matrix. Most connective tissues possess nerve and blood supply. The connective tissues provide connection between tissues and organs and provide support too. So in the diagram, we have shown some of the connective tissues, such as areolar connective tissue, adipose tissue, fibrous connective tissue, blood tissue, which is a special connective tissue, osseous tissue, which is also known as bone tissue, hyaline cartilage, cartilaginous tissue. Let's discuss about this special connective tissue, which is the blood tissue. Blood tissue is a special connective tissue because the matrix is not secreted by the blood cells, or the plasma is not secreted by the blood cells. Blood tissue helps in maintaining proper connection between organs and tissues. Blood is composed of a fluid matrix known as plasma and cells. The matrix contains red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. What are the main functions of blood tissue? Transportation of materials, that's the primary function. Transportation of such as oxygen and nutrients. Protection, immunity, which is done by WBC or white blood cells. Maintenance of homeostasis. And especially when you consider about the color of the blood cells, the color is due to the presence of a special type of pigment known as hemoglobin. Muscle tissue. Muscle tissue is made up of muscle cells and muscle fibers. These muscle fibers possess contraction and relaxation ability, and this will be explained by using a theory known as sliding filament theory. Muscle tissue receives oxygen and nutrients at a higher rate due to the good blood supply. Muscle tissue acts as one of the effectors in coordination. Therefore, there are three types of muscles: skeletal muscles, smooth muscles, and cardiac muscles. Skeletal muscles. Cells are cylindrical. Cells are unbranched. These are voluntary muscles, which means it will be controlled by the somatic nervous system. They contract rapidly and soon undergo fatigue. Smooth muscles. Cells are cylindrical. Cells are unbranched. These are involuntary muscles. That means they are controlled by the autonomic nervous system. They contract slowly and do not undergo fatigue. Cardiac muscles. Cells are cylindrical. Cells are branched. These are involuntary muscles. Once again, it will be controlled by autonomic nervous system. They contract rapidly but do not undergo fatigue. Nervous tissue. The structural unit of nervous tissue is nerve cell or neuron. Neurons are specialized to transmit impulses throughout the body. Neuron is composed of two parts, cell body and nerve fibers. When you talk about cell body, the main organelles present are nucleus, mitochondria, Golgi body, and endoplasmic reticulum. Nerve fibers, axon arises from the cell body as a single process and transmits impulses away from the cell body. Dendrons branch out to form dendrites. Dendrites receive stimuli and transmit impulses to the cell body. Myelin sheath is not continuous, and the interrupted places are known as neurofilaments. The myelin sheath increases the speed of transmission. What are the main functions? What is the main function? The function of the neuron is to receive the information from the receptors such as ears, eye, skin, etc., and to transmit them to the effector muscles. So in the diagram we have illustrated main three types of neurons: sensory neuron, intermediate neuron, and motor neuron. And the main function of the sensory neuron is to receive the impulses from the receptors and to transmit to the intermediate neuron, which is present in the central nervous system. And intermediate neuron will process the information and it will transmit to the motor neuron, which will be connecting to the effector. So these three types of neurons are the primary neurons which are responsible for the transmission of impulses throughout the body.